And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore podcast, where we never sit out. I'm your host, Matthew Dawson, and here joining me again today is the legend C to the D. What's going on?
Nothing much. Another wild weekend of college football. I feel like same time we recorded this, our week recaps, we're always opening with, wow, what a weekend. What a gift it is to be in college football season. Cherish this as we are approaching week 8. But we're here to talk about week 7 and all the wild things that happens. We'll get into all the games. Let us know what we missed in the comments. But yeah, I'm excited. College football season is going to be crazy. We continue to learn more and more about these teams, and it's special. It's real special.
Yeah, look, I'm going to preface though. I have a severe cold. So if I sound terribly nasally in this audio, let's get the scissors out. Let's cut MD some slack. All right. Let's cut MD some slack. All right.
We're here anyway, so
While you're cutting me some slack, you can go ahead and hit the like button if you like the content. Like the content, like the video. It's that simple. Subscribe if you guys want to keep seeing more of this content every week. And we keep saying Mondays and Thursdays is coming out again on a Tuesday. Extraneous circumstances, right? Monday, Tuesday, the recaps, they come out when they do. Thursday, though, they're always coming out on Thursdays. All right. So make sure you guys are tuned in, locked in for that. You can also check us out on Spotify. If you're listening to us on Spotify, check us out on YouTube, the Redshirt Sophomore. And if you want to email us some teams that maybe we didn't cover, some questions, some thoughts, you can email us at the redshirtsophomore@gmail.com, or you can tag us on Twitter, the Redshirt Soph. That's just at the Redshirt Soph. No, oh more. Just at the Redshirt Soph. So pretty crazy. I mean, there's a lot of games that we could talk about here that were pretty rambunctious, but I'm just gonna get into the games that we covered and see how we did picking our games. We had 9 games that we previewed and some Dawson's Diner. How do we do? We didn't do great. We didn't do great this week.
Hey, your spread though was nice. Your spread was nice.
Yeah, it was. I will preface this though. I went on. So we recorded this on Wednesday. Thursday, the next morning, I went on Texags Radio for their fan show, and I actually picked Tennessee, and I picked them to cover. The reason behind that is very simple. Jimbo Fisher on the road, and the more that I thought about it, the more I looked into it. Sure, the matchup, quote unquote, was favorable. Sure it was, but come on. I that was a really disappointing game. We'll watch. We'll get into that game. Even if you were a Tennessee fan, like you feel good about getting the win against like a talented A&M team, but neither team looked good. I don't feel good about either team going forward. And once again, I missed a spread on an SEC football game. Shocker. I've been doing that all year. Cannot figure out the SEC. This kid. I can't. Fortunately, though, I took the under in that game, which cashed so easily, and I got my LSU minus 11. So that was huge. But
I'll say 2 games I'd like to have back here. The USC game. I mean, I just ignored
yeah,
all the flaws on that team. I ignored them. And honestly, yeah, they gave up a lot of points, but their defense really wasn't the problem. It was the O-line and a lot of other things, which we'll get into, obviously, when we get to that video. And then Cincinnati. I think part of it was I was just overconfident in a bye week and a coaching staff and the schedule dynamics for Cincinnati. And then also, I have not been given enough credit for how well Iowa State's been playing the past couple weeks.
they might
Credit
be
to
the
Matt
third.
Campbell.
They might be the third best team in the pack in the Big 12 right now.
Credit to
I'm
Rocco
not gonna
Beck.
say officially, but I'm just saying they might be. It's a possibility.
I don't I don't think that's crazy. They're still 3-1 in the Big 12. They can do a lot of things with that schedule that they have here.
Today is what, October 16th. Y'all will be watching this video October 17th, 2023. Iowa State controls their own destiny in the Big 12, and we're midway
Yeah.
through October.
Now that does include having to go and beat a team like Texas, right?
Yes, that
But
is exactly.
they get them at home. Everybody else in their schedule right now seems very manageable, and that's the theme with a lot of these teams right now is like, what's your schedule down the stretch? If you're the Pac-12 and you're a number of teams, which we'll get into this episode, you have a gauntlet. You have an absolute gauntlet. And if you're, Iowa State or teams like I don't know, North Carolina or Duke, not Duke, I'm sorry, North Carolina, but like other dark horse conference contenders, you might be licking your chops right now. And that's what October and November is. But you still got to play the football games. Nobody's writing in chalk wins yet. But yeah.
Let's talk about some other games before we get into the deep previews of this game. But it was glazed over some of these games. I was this close, CD. I was this close to betting and adding to Dawson's Diner Pitt plus 7.5. I was this
Yeah.
close. And they won outright. But you know what that is? That's a classic letdown spot for Louisville after a giant win, playing Pittsburgh in an absolute downpour. They make a quarterback change. Maybe there's a little bit more energy in the locker room. I mean, Pitt, like every single year, they get that one win, right? Oops, it was Louisville this year, which is so brutal for now. Louisville still controls their own destiny, but well, actually, they don't. They don't even control their own destiny in the ACC because they don't play North Carolina and they don't play Florida State, and Florida State doesn't play North Carolina. So like they need one of those teams to lose, and also one of the first tiebreaker for ACC is conference opponent record. And Louisville
Louisville's not
loses
going to
that.
have that.
They're not going to have that. So they just, I mean, you could see Jeff Brom's frustration too on the sideline, like every time, like, because obviously Jeff Brom, absolute magic class against Notre Dame, right? I guess you could just see the frustration, man. And that pick six that Jack Plummer threw late in the game. I mean, that was Jack Plummer's game. That was the Jack Plummer game. That's what that was.
Yeah. Now, credit to Pittsburgh, man. See what happens. See what can happen there when you get a quarterback. And now
he was not very good though. Let's preface that Velo was not very good. He was,
but he
slightly,
2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Right, he didn't take a crazy amount of sacks, and they didn't even run the ball very well. I mean, Hammond sure was 4.5 yards per carry, but only had 11 touches.
Yeah, Robbie Hammond in general has been disappointing this year, I think.
You look at the game and you're just kind of like, how did they score 38 points? A couple turnovers.
Torrential downpour, baby.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the slip and slide.
Especially on the road, right? As a road favorites, home dogs. We love the home dogs.
Yeah.
I'll throw another one just because we got to talk about it. It was on Friday night. If you stayed up for it, Stanford and Colorado. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it because, as it stands right now, neither of these teams will probably make a bowl game. But it is tough to see Colorado lose. I do feel bad for them. And obviously, you are a Stanford under better. So this probably killed you.
2.5 wins.
They're 1 win away. They're 1 win away from beating that, which anything can happen in 60 minutes, which we saw this week. Credit to Stanford, though. That second half was awesome and overtime. Troy Taylor, I'm really happy for him. Really, really happy for him. Poor Travis Hunter, man. I mean, that guy just got off the injury report and now he had to play, 150 snaps? It was
157.
Great.
157 snaps he played.
Crazy.
What are we doing? Like, I actually am a Deion supporter. I like what he's doing there. Build an image for these kids, right? It seems like they have some disciplinary stuff going on in there as well. So it's not just like hype city, right? It's get these kids ready to go for the pros, if they're willing to get there. But man, I mean, how he lacerated liver?
Yeah.
And they said he was on a snap count. That's what they said before the game. He was on a snap count.
Yeah.
I thought that meant like 80. I thought they meant like 80 snaps, which, by the way, is a ton.
Still a lot.
80 is a try double. 157. An NFL player might play 50 a game, 60. I don't know. I mean, good Lord.
At altitude, too. In Colorado, in Boulder.
Yeah. What was he supposed to do in the fourth quarter? Like, I get Aya Manor was like absolutely dominant in the fourth quarter, and Twitter's going to go crazy over that. He was dead. He was dead. And let's not forget, he still played wide receiver at a very elite level, but he was dead. Dead.
He did. We'll move on. Another weeknight game to Thursday. You got to feel for Neil Brown in West Virginia. Garrett Green makes a heck of a throw.
He does.
They get a touchdown with 16 seconds to go or 19 seconds to go. And you're just like 12 seconds. I'm sorry. It was 12 seconds. And then the Hail Mary, man. You swat that thing down, do something. But I mean,
They did swat it down right into the arms. I
Yeah.
love it.
Now, it was a Dana Holgerson revenge game for West Virginia. I'm sure they would have loved to win that one. And they would have been 5-2, 3-0 in conference. Looking so good. And now, obviously, good for Houston. They needed that win. Obviously, they get their first Big 12 win as new Big 12 members. But wow, thriller.
Yep.
The weeknights always got to watch those games.
Yeah, you have to. But the thing is about West Virginia is now, so next week, which a couple weeks ago we would have said, oh, all right, pushover game, whatever. They play Oklahoma State this week. Granted, it's at home. And Oklahoma State's been on a roll at home, right? They haven't really done well on the road yet this year. But they're playing Alan Bowman as a full-time quarterback. Ollie Gordon is so good at football. He is so good. What do you have? 300 total yards against Kansas? Holy
He's a
cow.
leading receiver and rusher, right?
Oh my.
35 touches. You feed that fella, and he is feasting.
Now, granted, West Virginia's run defense is really, really effective, and it has been. But Brendan Presley played well as well. So if they get him going and Alan Bowman is confident there in the pocket, West Virginia's secondary has been vulnerable, as we saw in this past game. We'll see. I'd like to see Mike Gundy pull out another one. I'd like to see Mike Gundy get hot here. That's what I'd like to see.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. Another one to talk about. Sorry, I'll just throw Kansas State in there. Good to see them get a win. I mean, poor Will Howard. I mean, I was a Will Howard fan, enthusiast for him in the offseason. But Avery Johnson came in, and not that he played fantastic. I mean, he threw the ball 9 times. Yes, he was 8 or 9, whatever. They didn't ask him to do it a ton. His strength is his legs, and you saw that, right? 5 touchdowns on the ground, 90 yards. Very, very impressive. And obviously the win there at Texas Tech, just a reeling Texas Tech team here that needed this win. Thought they might get it. Didn't happen for them.
Yeah, that was a tough game for them for sure. And now Texas Tech, now you're looking like a team that we were so high on. Everyone's dark horse to win the Big 12, and it's like they might not make a bowl game at this point.
Yeah, they're gonna have to beat some teams.
And this was
on
like
the
the
road.
least. This was like the least competitive game though that they've been in this year. Like the rest of their games have been very competitive. So it's not like this is not a. I don't want to say it's a terrible team because it's not. They're just losing games, man. There's another team in Texas that also is finding ways to lose games despite being quite talented. So we might talk about that team a little bit. Arizona, holy smokes, Fifita might be the answer there for the Wildcats.
He gives you all the upside that Jaden Delora had with very little downside. That Delora also came with. Love Jaden Delora. Very excited football player. College
He's
football
so
is better
excited.
when he's playing.
He's
College football is better
fun.
when he's playing. Fafita is awesome. That they are playing fantastic football right now. They're gonna beat a giant in the Pac-12. Mark my words. Right? It's someone's gonna get caught lacking, and it's gonna be because of Arizona. They almost slayed USC. They almost slayed Washington. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I do want to apologize to Graham Mertz. I think it's finally time to apologize.
I think we both should apologize to him. I think we both need to.
And now I'll say this. South Carolina's defense is not good. But that's not to take away from what Graham Mertz did. That's not to take away from 30 of 48, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ricky Pearsall, right? I made the mistake of calling him not a number 1 wide receiver. He is fantastic. A real good player. And the problem is that just overshadows Spencer Rattler and everything he did. 20 of 30, 313, 4 tutties. Obviously, the interception hurt. I mean, that was a fantastic game. That was a fantastic game.
The thing about Graham Mertz is he has been consistently the reason why this team is winning games. Like when they win games, it has been because of Graham Mertz. And if they've been in games like that game against Kentucky that they were like in, right? They were in it for a period of time because of Graham Mertz, right? Obviously, their run defense couldn't hold up against Ray Davis and the boys. But like in the Utah game, though, I'll say is the one exception. But that's a really good defense. Come to find out, so
and on the road, the tough part here I mean, you blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah, with
That
like 4 minutes to
brutal,
go. Like 4 minutes to go, man.
brutal. And at home too, Shane Beamer, and this is not taking anything away from him. They have a tough schedule down the stretch. Vanderbilt is probably their easiest game remaining. Other than that, at Missouri, at A&M, Kentucky, and Clemson to finish the year. You throw
Yeah.
Jacksonville State in there as well. I mean,
They will not make a bowl game.
no, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year. We're like, this might be a better football team, which it's not. It's not. But it didn't matter. Their schedule was just so brutal that they just
But they
weren't going to
also
win the games.
they don't have depth. I mean, when you're an SEC team and a good one last year, and you get rated by the transfer portal, like it's so tough to it's so tough to recover in that instance. Like they did not have the depth. Spencer Rattler is doing, I mean, everything that he can. It's a bummer too, because like people aren't like watching him necessarily. I'm not sure everyone's tuning into the South Carolina game every week, but holy smokes, that kid is balling, 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 balling. Any other games you want to talk about?
I mean, good to see, you
Rutgers
know,
5-2. What are we talking about here? I mean, I know you were all over. You laid the juice with the over 3.5. Apparently, you didn't need to, and it's October, so
yeah. Now, should they have won that game? No, but a win's a win. At the end of the day, you're going to look back on the season and no one's really going to say, oh, they needed a weird kickoff recovery, I guess you could call it, to sneak that one out. Credit to TJ Finley. We are a Sunbelt show here. Okay. Credit to TJ Finley and Texas State, who are 5-2 right now. Right. Snuck out a win, right, against UL Monroe. And we'll get to the other Sunbelt, the big Sunbelt game of the week when we get to that preview or when that
yeah.
recap.
And look, I know that there's gonna be Michigan State fans in the comments here that are gonna be asking me to take back what I said about Caden Hauser. Uh, I will not do that. I will not be doing that until he proves me wrong. Caden Hauser, first half, lights out, lights out. And I was like, wow, maybe Michigan State has a guy. I don't know. All right, let's see what else they have to offer here. Yeah, no. No. They lost. And they were
I
up
want to
big.
say, I think you're so right there, and it's not going to be easier, for him in Michigan State. Two quick things about the SEC. I'm not worried about Bama, right? Arkansas made it close in the second half.
Who
Whatever.
cares? No one
It's
cares.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Arkansas played everybody close. Alabama controlled most of that game. And then another thing, Brock Bowers, that injury hurts, right? That definitely hurts. You hate to see a star player like Brock Bowers, maybe one of the best players in the country, go down. And probably not the best time to do it because you got Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, and then he's probably back for at Tennessee. That is the Georgia schedule is not hard. It kind of turned into a tough one by the end of this year, right? Where you got some spotlight games. This is where you need Brock Bowers, but now we'll see Carson Beck. I think it does give him a chance to win the Heisman because he does without Brock Bowers. Like they put more on his shoulder against tough competition. Who knows there, especially if they go unscathed through all that. Would be really nice to see.
Now, we don't bet Heisman's on this show, but it is interesting to point out that I said that there was something smelly at the beginning of the season for Carson Beck to be at 30-1 to win the Heisman. There's something smelly there. So I think we're seeing it now. I think to quote myself, I'll paraphrase. The way I saw Carson Beck before the season is someone who could actually find his way in New York. And I don't know. We'll see. See what happens there. It'd be nice to be right about that. It'd be nice to be right about that. But then again, who knows? No Brock Bowers. Could be a totally different offense. I don't know. I don't know. But ready to get into the actual games that we previewed?
Yep.
All right, let's do some recapping. Oregon at Washington. Gosh, what a gem of a game this was. A treat. Goodness gracious. I mean, now we could argue about the coaching decisions of Dan Lanning this game for hours. Everyone has an opinion, right? I will give you my opinion. I think the blunder at the end of the first half was worse than going for it on 4th and 3 in your own 47. I thought that was
Absolutely.
I thought that was worse. Uh, take the 3 points, man. Why would you not take the 3 points there? I don't think there's any reason like not to, unless you like. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just find like 4th and goal on like what they're 5 or whatever. Like I just find like I'll take the 3 points rather than chance at 7. But granted, Oregon's a risk. Like they're a gambling team. I mean, they went for 2 right out of the bat, right out of the gate. Their first touchdown, they went for 2. I think we knew from the start that that was kind of going to be an indicator of the decisions that were going to be made coaching wise. But yeah, and that field goal ended up hurting him, not taking that in the first half. I thought that was more egregious than going for it on 4th and 3 because I understand that it's like you go for it on 4th and 3, right? If you miss it, right, and then Washington scores, chances are there's going to be time left on the clock, and having the information, right, and having the time to go down and score again, right, uh, versus like it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. I guess if you were to look at it like in basketball, I guess like you know, the shot clock and the game clock don't exactly line up, but you're trying to go get a quick bucket so then you can have an opportunity to get the ball back with enough time, right? Like you leave enough time left on the game clock where the other team can't just run the clock out. A
It's
little
a
two,
2-for-1. Yeah.
yeah, a 2 for 1. So that's kind of I think what he did there. So I don't mind that 4th and 3 too. Like either way, you're giving the ball back to Michael Penix, who is currently the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. Now,
Uh,
granted, he didn't have a very good second half, but goodness gracious.
I'll say this too. I do think to add to that point, first of all, I don't fault Dan Lanning. I don't think of him any differently than I did, 72 hours ago, right? He's obviously a very good coach. He stuck to what he believes, and I trust his judgment, right? Like he's a very good coach, right? I'll say that. But the middle 8, right? Coaches emphasize this all the time: win the middle 8, and they didn't do that, right? You had the interception, and you had a chance to do that. You had a chance to really take over the game, steal possession from Washington, who wanted to go down, right, and score at the end of the first half, and then you got the interception, and that was your chance to win that, and then get the ball out of second half. And you get 0 points out of both those drives, and then Washington gets the ball, scores a touchdown, goes up 11, and ends up being the difference in the ball game there. So yeah, that's my point there. But yeah, it was incredible game. Incredible game. Everyone's talking about rematch. Sure, I'd love to. I'd love to talk about that. But I'm just going to celebrate this win for what it was for Washington. Fantastic home environment. Recruits galore were there. The Pac-12, right, sucks, but they put on a very nice showcase to the national media and the national world that, hey, there's some really good football being played out on the West Coast here. Obviously, they'll bring that to the Big Ten when they come next year. But yeah, and then for Oregon, pick yourself off the dirt, right? You got Washington State, you got Utah, right? Doesn't get much easier from here. Obviously, Oregon State at the end of the year, and sure, USC in the middle there. But yeah, both these teams look like the best teams in the Pac-12, but also a lot can happen. Washington gives himself that cover as still have no undefeated record, right? No losses there. But wow, I mean, these quarterbacks were incredible. Playmakers made plays. Bucky Irving, man, I want to give a shout out to him. He's incredible. We've known that from the start since he was a freshman at Minnesota. He's over at Oregon doing great things, which is fantastic for him. But yeah, it was just awesome. It was really, really awesome to watch.
Adunes, Jalen Polk. I mean, Troy Franklin. I mean, this was a just weapons galore. I mean, all guys are going to be playing the NFL. I mean,
There
that's
were
what it
still
is.
nice quality defensive plays. I'll say that. I thought in the second
Yeah.
half, both teams made some nice adjustments, and you saw some teams make some plays. Obviously, get stops when you need them. And for Washington, and end up, getting that last touchdown to win the game. But yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. Kalen DeBoer, right? Dan Lanning, two coaches that we talked about on this offseason as second-year coaches that are making that jump into really, really good programs. Really, really good programs.
Texas A&M going to Knoxville, Neyland Stadium, and just what a dud. What a dud from this offense. I mean, Max Johnson, here's I think I said a couple weeks ago that, A&M has one of the best backup quarterback situations in the entire country. Uh, I was wrong to say that. I was wrong to say that. Now it's not just Max Johnson's fault. That is not what I'm coming on here to say. All right. Because when you're 0-8 as a coaching staff in your last 8 true road games, what's the common denominator there? Right? When you haven't won a ranked road game since 2014, yeah, there's kind of a common denominator there. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This was terrible. Max Johnson looking really bad, holding on to the ball too long. What have we said? What have we said? Don't hold on to the ball too long. Max Johnson holds on to the ball an average of 3 seconds. That is a long time. Time to throw 3.00 seconds coming into this game. 3.02 or something like that. Connor Wigman, 2.55. Miami game. You know how many pressures Miami had in that game? A ton. Bringing corner blitzes. Wigman didn't know how to protect himself, but you know what he knows how to do? Get rid of the football and make big time throws. Goodness gracious. And like this offensive line keeps getting criticized for not being physical enough. And I keep seeing him on social media and going on radio shows and all these linemen saying, no, we're there. We're physical. We're in the SEC. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. Bryce Foster is not snapping the ball effectively, right? Let alone blocking effectively. I mean, I don't know what is going on with this offensive line. Steve Adazio, since he's gotten there, this offensive line is just tanked. Ever since he stepped foot in the building, it is just tanked. He should not have a job after this offseason. DJ Jerkin, look, honestly, has made some adjustments and he's been looking better. He did leave a lot on the ground game, but also Ezra Cooper got hurt. Walton Nolan got hurt late. I understand. But man, Bryce Anderson, I don't think played in this game either. The Fire Jimbo movement is very strong right now. It's not because of who they've lost to, it's because of how they've lost. And we're just not seeing change there. So I would say credit to Tennessee, and I'll credit their defense. But Joe Milton looked terrible. He was horrendous. Threw an absolutely horrible interception in the red zone when they had a chance. Absolutely bailed A&M out. Josh DeBerry, what do you know? Actually got a pick. Crazy concept. Wright and Small were really effective running the ball. That's why Tennessee won this game. And special teams. I mean, they had a punt that pinned us down in the 1-yard line or inside the 5, and then we couldn't get out of there, of course, because can't run the ball. Can't move the ball if you can't run the ball. And you have this quarterback. You just can't do it. And we punted it. Nick Constantino, who, by the way, has been really good for A&M in his career, was terrible this game. Horrible punts, including that one. Absolute line drive. The guy caught it on the 40-yard line of A&M. Took it to the house, right? I mean, we had no chance. This was an absolute dud of a game for Texas A&M. An absolute dud of a game. The entire coaching staff got outcoached. That is the second consecutive game you got outcoached. The third game that you've gotten outcoached this season with this talent, that's unacceptable.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. All 3 of A&M's losses, you've been leading at halftime.
Correct? Oh yeah. And this is, by the way, the third straight game that we've only scored 3 offensive points out of halftime.
Yeah. The frustrating part, well, it's coaching and it's bad O-line too. Like you bring up that 8 losses in a row on the O-line, right? Or 8 losses in a row on the road. I mean, you cannot win on the road. You have had a bad O-line for years now. It's been since 2020. You had a bad O-line. You cannot win football games on the road in the SEC with no O-line. You can't, right? And if you told me at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of before this game, that Joe Milton was going to have 100 yards passing, 1 pick and 1 interception, or I'm sorry, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, I'd be licking my chops because A&M's strength for the most of the year has been the run defense. And now I'll credit Tennessee for winning in different styles than we've seen them in the past, right? This is not the team from last year that put up 50 points on Alabama. And I think they're going to go into Bryant-Denny Stadium next year or next week and realize that. But they ran the ball really well. They played good defense, right? They attacked the O-line, which obviously is just leaving Max Johnson as sitting duck there. And now I don't put all this on Max Johnson, but at the same time, like
He was
a
terrible.
lot of exactly, and you are an experienced SEC quarterback. You've played for like 4 years now in the SEC. All of those years, you've gotten a ton of meaningful snaps. You should have seen every defense, right, that there is in the SEC, and yet I don't see him adjusting to his bad O line. I don't, and I get it. It's hard to, and I get it. But you have freakish wide receivers, playmakers galore all over this offense, and yet you're just not using it. It's a waste. It's really a waste of Bobby Petrino, who I still think is a good coach. Now, would I like to see him take advantage or do things to hide the fact that your O line is terrible and that your quarterback is struggling to process defenses right now? Yes. All right, give him quick decisions, give him quick passes. Eventually, the deep passing game, which Max Johnson throws a beautiful deep ball, will get there eventually. But I don't know. It's a shame. It's a real shame. I do think some tough conversations are ahead for A&M in terms of what to do with the future of the program. But like we said, Tennessee, man, for after what happened since Florida, everyone kind of buried them and left them for dead. And they've come and played some really good football against UTSA, South Carolina, and A&M, right? Back to back weeks. And now you get into a tough part of your schedule. We got a lot of tough games on the road, but we'll see what can happen there. I think this offense and this team will go as far as Joe Milton takes them. And obviously, you can beat a team like A&M at home, right? Who is an obvious weakness without an elite passing attack. But to beat Bama, to beat Georgia, you're gonna have to throw the football because they will expose you if you're one dimensional. And it wasn't even A&M's defense that I thought they played fine, right? I thought they played fine, but
It was the first win
it's
under
tough.
Josh Heupel's tenure that they won a game without scoring more than 30 points.
And they scored 13 on offense too.
Yeah.
It's tough. It is really, really tough because you look at this A&M team, and we talked about it in the preview. We both took A&M, and we were like, why is it not working? Like something's wrong. And the problem is going on the road in the SEC, your flaws are going to be exposed. You best believe that, right? And they were, and they were, and that's going to be the problem. I think, for weeks to come here with A&M, and I don't know how much you can do to really fix that midseason.
What are the chances that they get to 8 wins? I mean, I don't think it's like I think 7-5 at this point is more likely than 8-4.
Let's see. You still got to play both Mississippi schools, which Jimbo's always had a problem with.
Let's chalk up Mississippi State as a win, right? But Ole Miss on the road. That's a true road game. That's another road game. Your road games are LSU and Ole Miss.
You got to win both those games, or you got to win one of those two games.
Correct.
And both those teams are playing good football right now. So, and you bet talk about
Lane
quarterbacks
Kiffin,
that can
Lane
expose
Kiffin,
the secondary.
Lane Kiffin has A&M's number and DJ Durkin's number. I mean, it's not even funny. It's not even funny. And that LSU team's gonna be pissed, dude. They're already pissed. They're playing pissed off right now, dude. They're just their offense is absolutely buzzing. But yeah, this is a really tough game to watch. I took the under in this game. That was awesome. But everything else about this game was not awesome.
I will say here, if you're a Tennessee fan tuning in and to get some Tennessee insight, I know we talked a lot about A&M, but to be honest, that's kind of what dictated this game. I think was A&M being the more talented team, right? They were able, it was up to them whether they showed up or not. And some flaws about their roster that you were able to expose, but defense is really good. That the Tennessee defense, I'm pretty darn impressed with, right? And I think that A&M, they showed it today, being able to get after the passer. With Max Johnson. And unfortunately for A&M, their two offenses, they've gotten exposed by two really good defenses, right? Back weeks, which is tough for them. And obviously South Carolina next week, hopefully you get everything, or I'm sorry, in 2 weeks, you get a bye week, recoup and get after it the second half of your schedule. We talked about this as a stretch that A&M needed to go at least 1-1 and they didn't. And now you're sitting here at what, 5-3, 4-3 right now. And a lot to be desired. A lot to be desired.
Notre Dame at home versus USC. just annihilation here. Caleb Williams throwing 3 picks in the first half. Very uncharacteristic, and they were bad interceptions too. They were really bad. It was him running around for his life and him trying to make a play like that. This offense, it feels like it's just Caleb Williams running around back there. That's what it is. Caleb Williams drop back, run around, find someone open. And granted, it happened a couple of times. Not, but this Notre Dame defense is for real this year. I think they definitely made that statement again in this game. But in all 3 phases, Notre Dame was spectacular. Now, granted, special teams, Zach Branch had his. Dude, he's so electric. He's so electric. But right after USC scored a touchdown, they're like, oh, maybe we're back in this game. No chance. Kick return touchdown. See ya. Let's put the nail in the absolute coffin. Sam Hartman played fine. Audric Esme was fine. Notre Dame just played really, really good football. I know that the yards, like Notre Dame's, I'm sorry, 126 passing yards, 125 rushing yards. Dude, it's because they had short fields. Every single possession, they had incredibly short fields. So, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the main part I love, I think you hit it on the nail. The part I love, you brought up Audric Esme. Yeah, he played fine. The best part about it was he had most of the carries. I think he had like 22 of the 26, running back carries, which was awesome. And we've been begging to see that from Notre Dame. Obviously, yeah, the story of the day was the defense. Marcus Freeman and company there put together a really good formula how to stop this USC offense. Obviously, that O-line, which I thought was going to be pretty good with those transfers coming in, got exposed today for sure. And let's not talk about USC as being, I mean, yes, their defense has struggled all year, but their offense has put up points in all their games, right? 40 plus in all their games. And Caleb Williams had 3 picks, right? He wasn't Superman, for the first half, and it showed, and that's how you lost. The problem is this team is constructed, which I was mistaken by. It's constructed completely around Caleb Williams, right? If he doesn't have his A game, which he's credit to him, he's had for the last 2 years, right? Outside of maybe 2 games, right? The Pac-12 championship, which he was playing hurt against Utah, and in this game here, and they get blown out, and that's what happens. And I do think, like in Riley and company, they do have to figure out a lot if they're gonna seriously contend in this Pac-12. Because in prior years, yes, maybe that walks. You can roll out of bed and you'll see, a Utah team that can't move the football in the Pac-12 championship. No, not this year. You're gonna have to beat some real good football teams down the stretch to make it there. Now, yes, you still have 0 conference losses, which is good. I guess that helps you in that regard. But in terms of college football playoff contender, this does not look like one right now. And I don't think the issues on this team are able to be fixed. And I was wrong. I was expecting them to play a complete football game, at least to the standard that USC can. And it didn't happen. And it really didn't happen. And I was credit Notre Dame, a 4th street of this gauntlet, man. I'll be honest, 2-2 in this stretch, it's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. And it's unfortunate that they're probably eliminated from the college football playoffs. But man, Marcus Freeman, I got a lot of respect for him now, right after getting his team ready to play and play dominant.
I'll ask you this though. All right. I know that USC is a top 25 team. They are one of the best 25 teams in the country, right? We know that just because we know who they are, right? But you're an AP voter, right? What reason other than you think USC is good and Caleb Williams, what reason should they be ranked in the top 25? Who have they beaten? What have they looked like against actually good top 25 teams? And what have they looked like against not top 25 teams? My answer to that is I don't think it's crazy to not have USC ranked in the top 25. Is that lunatic? Is that crazy? I had them ranked 18 in my top 25 poll the other week, and people thought I was crazy. And I don't think this team should be ranked this week.
I think I wouldn't call it an overreaction for sure. I think there's definitely
But what have they
A
done to
reason for that?
earn? What have they done to like a top 25 rank should be
Arizona.
like a top
Arizona.
25 team in my brain is like, okay, a team that has had the wins, right? And looked good doing it. Like eye test and resume, do they look like a top 25 team? And to me, they don't.
But you also have to factor in like they played a team that they were not favored to win, right? On the road, and they lost. I mean, yes, it looked ugly for sure,
They
but like
got blown out by a fringe top 25 team.
you take away the turnovers, it's a completely different game. I'll just and not that the USC, not that many excuses for them, whatever. Like the turnovers happened for a reason because Notre Dame forced them on South Carolina. But like, I'm sorry, South Carolina.
Southern
Wow, some USC
California.
fans are going to be very upset there. USC, I do think the Arizona win looking better and better each week. It, I think what they're 6-1 right now. I think it's hard to unrank them
A
after
triple
one
overtime
game.
win against Arizona at home.
But Arizona, come on, you cannot bury Arizona like that.
I know
Come
they're
on.
pretty. I know they're a pretty good football team. I'm just saying, like,
Well,
I
part of
don't
it is
know.
like I can't get over the fact that like with Caleb Williams, the talent on this team that I know is there, like I can't get over I haven't seen the best football yet, and like I might have on the year, but I don't believe it. Right? I believe they're capable of playing at such a high rate, which is why I think that's and obviously their name brand, Caleb Williams, like Riley, that's the reason why they're ranked. But also like you got to find 25 other teams that would be 6-1 with USC's schedule, which I don't think
I, are you
certain that
serious?
the
I
that you
mean,
would. You think
I
James Madison, and I love James Madison. I love James Madison. Even though I didn't pick him to win, they won. You think they're going 6-1 and they're looking better than USC did at Notre Dame?
I don't think they're looking better than USC did at Notre Dame, but I'll tell you this: I think Mississippi State is 6-1 with the schedule. They beat Arizona. What? Stanford, Nevada, San Jose State, Arizona State, a Colorado team that was absolutely banged up. Now, granted, the Arizona team that Mississippi State would have played at this point was a lot different than the one that they played back in September. All I'm saying is like it is not an impressive resume at all.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. I think we're in agreement there. It's not. But also, it's
Don't
Caleb
rank him.
Williams.
AP voters don't rank
No,
him. Don't rank him.
you you think Iowa deserves to be ranked?
See, here's the thing: like, if I was an
Iowa's
AP
been
voter,
outplayed
if I was an AP
wins.
voter, I guarantee you that the people at the Associated Press would send me an email like, "Hey, you forgot to rank USC." Because actually, like, for like, I think they actually like do that for some organizations like have their own top 25s or whatever. I think there are like emails that are sent like oh hey, because like if there's like an egregious one, right? Like you forget to rank Georgia in top 25 just because you forgot to write their name on the ballot. Someone might just pull you aside and be like, hey, look, did you forget to put Georgia in there? You might go, oh, I did, but like I think if I like omitted USC from this top 25, I think I would get an email saying, oh, I think you forgot to rank USC, and then I'd be like, no, I didn't.
I do think like if you're gonna unrank USC, you gotta unrank Iowa, and like
I agree. I agree.
but my point is like there's not enough teams that deserve to be top 25 teams. So
I think
USC
there's
gets benefit out.
plenty.
I think 18 is too high, but yes, we can move on.
Speaking of Iowa at Wisconsin in the most Iowa way that they possibly could have, winning the ball game 15-6. Wow.
When are people gonna learn in the Big Ten West to like how to beat Iowa? Like the formula, I mean, yes, it's easier said than done, but you give up 37 yards passing, right, to a non-service academy football team at home, and you lose by two possessions. I get it. Tanner
As
Morgan
it's
went down.
as a 10-point favorite.
It's a 10-point favorite. I get it. I get it. Tanner Morgan went down, but like, there's just like at some point there's no excuse. Also, why'd you throw the ball 50 times?
That's a
if you're
really good
Wisconsin.
question.
Braden Locke had, I mean, I get it. You were, whatever, you were trying to catch up late, but 50 times. Deacon Hill, I'm going to say this nicely.
You don't have
He's
to.
he is not a Power Five quarterback, and I think that's pretty evident in the way that the coaching staff treats him, right? Now, LaShawn Williams bailed him out with an 82-yard run, which if you're Iowa and you get up, or if you're Wisconsin and you go down 7-0 to Iowa in the second half, or it's the second half and you're down 7-0, that feels insurmountable. I've been there as a Minnesota fan. It feels insurmountable. But why? Why?
Cooper DeJean and the boys.
There's some
Cooper DeJean
fellas
and the
there.
boys.
There always is.
Oh shoot, that's on me. Sorry about that. Trying to
That's all right.
maneuver. But yeah, dude, I don't know how they do it, man. And the craziest thing is, I don't know if you have their schedule pulled up. Are they losing another game?
Okay, don't call me biased here. Don't call me biased here. Right? I know I'm sure Iowa and Wisconsin fans just love seeing me flash the go for maroon, but like Minnesota is their hardest game on schedule left. It's because it's a rivalry game. I know you're at PENIX, so Minnesota has, zero success playing there, right? For the longest time since
None.
I've probably been born. Um, but yeah, that's just the reality of their schedule. And we talked about it, and that's why a lot of us picked them to win the West. It was just because, yes, you have Penn State, your crossover. You're at Penn State. It's a whiteout. You have zero chance to win that game. But every other game in your schedule, Michigan State, awful. Should have lost that game. Purdue, terrible. Could have lost
Should
that
have
game.
lost. Should have lost that game.
Should have lost the game. Wisconsin, at Wisconsin was your toughest game, and you should have lost the game, and you won by 9. Like, what is Kirk
Unbelievable.
Ferentz doing wrong? I cannot wait until Oregon and UCLA, Washington, one of those fan bases is going to become so cocky coming into Iowa, and they're going to get beat, just like all these other Big Ten West teams have for fucking 10 years now. I hope so. I hope it's not just us because it's embarrassing, and they're going to get rolled by whoever comes out of the East. I heard a thing today about changing up the Big Ten championship, which they can do, right? And making it like a playing game where like the 2 and the 3 from the East play each other again, and you try to boost your record, whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously would never happen, but it's better than fucking this. And I can't wait for division to be gone as a college football fan. As a Gopher fan whose team have just wasted ample years of being able to win the West. It's frustrating that they're gone, but God damn it, man. God damn it. I do
Yeah.
feel bad for Tanner Mordecai. He got hurt. It sounds like he's gonna be out for at least a couple weeks, which is tough. I mean, was he playing all that great? No, but obviously he's a very experienced quarterback. He was 12 for 20 against Iowa, which is pretty darn good. But they got some things to figure
I
out.
mean,
They got a lot.
12 for 20. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. I mean, it's like okay, right? I mean, I guess
Against Iowa. That'll get it done though. That'll get it done though. Over 4 quarters, that's got a chance to get it done. When Deacon Hill is what 6 for 14 for 37 yards. Half of those came on one play
yeah,
to Eric All. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I'll
it's
the Minnesota Iowa total is at 32.5. I have not seen a lower line this entire season. Uh,
the last
preview for
lower one
Dawson's
was
Diner, by
probably
the way.
last year.
Preview for preview for Dawson's Diner. I'm on the under.
I would I wouldn't take it, but like if you
I'm
gave
on
me
it.
20, if you gave me 26 at pretty good odds, like that's not crazy.
Like if you were to alt
Like,
line it, you're saying like to like plus like 350.
yeah, yeah, give me a bunch. Like it last year, this line was crazy low. It was in Minnesota. It was like one of the lowest lines in the last like 10 plus years, whatever. And the under hit by like 10 points. I mean, it's just like
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think the line can be low enough. Like it
that's my
I don't.
point. That's my point.
So yeah, while the Wisconsin or Iowa won this game, Wisconsin's could still go 10-2. I mean, they could if Tanner Mordecai
But
gets healthy. like
But
at the
they could
right.
also go. They could also go 7-5, right? And they got at Illinois.
Assuming
The Axe, obviously, at the end of the year is going to decide it. But at Illinois just beat a Maryland team, which was shocking to us. We'll get into that when we talk about our upset meter. And then obviously Ohio State's going to blow the doors off of you. And then you get it on the road rivalry game, Thanksgiving weekend, right? 7-5, which I thought was much more realistic expectations for year one of Luke Fickell, would be a huge disappointment, especially with the way the West shaped out this year. Especially seeing Iowa probably go 11-1 with they're probably gonna be like 80 points short of the drive to 325. Right, with Brian Ferentz, they'll probably be 80 points. For those of you unfamiliar with that, I'm sure if you're an Iowa fan, you're probably pretty familiar with that. But it's the amount of points that is in Brian Ferentz's clause that they need to score per game or whatever for him to. Otherwise, his contract expires, whatever. But I mean, it
yeah.
won't matter if they go 11-1.
Now, if they play in the Big Ten championship game, that actually goes up to 350.
Exactly. And they're not scoring 25 points against any of those teams. It's
No
just going
way.
to ruin them.
Yeah,
And it's not even their fault. Well, it is, but
this is
it's
wild.
crazy. This game just makes me laugh. Sometimes college football is funny. This game was funny. No, obviously, if you're not a Wisconsin fan, it was not. And I get that. I felt your pain. Don't you worry. Losing to Iowa when you feel like you shouldn't have. But I guess let's credit Iowa. They're 6-1.
Jeez,
Hey, that Iowa State win's looking better and better.
it is. It actually is.
Now, different Iowa State team now than it was in week 2, obviously. But in terms of just 100 feet view, it's a good win. It's a good win for Iowa.
Miami at UNC.
Thank God. Can we talk about good football now?
Yeah, we just got off talking to Iowa, Wisconsin. Uh, Amari and Hampton, dude. Tez Walker. Those are two guys that are just studs. I didn't even mention Drake May. Drake May was good this game. He's not playing at the level that he did against like Syracuse or blank. I'm blanking who they played before they played Syracuse, but
Minnesota.
yeah, when he played Minnesota earlier this year. But no, for real. I mean, Miami, did they play a terrible game? I don't really even know that they played like a terrible game. I think North Carolina executed defensively when they needed to. Cedric Gray, wow, that guy's a stud. We talked about him, linebacker, probably one of the best linebackers in the ACC right now. In production,
Came on
in the
Rucker. Came on
yeah,
Rucker.
came on Rucker. What do you have? 2.5 sacks or something like that.
Yeah.
Their secondary, they dumped a bunch of guys in the transfer portal, but guess what? Gene Chizik, who, by the way, this guy right here absolutely pooped on Gene Chizik before the start of the season. Now granted, giving out 31 points at home, right, isn't ideal, but they're doing enough. They're doing enough. So they're doing better than I thought they would be doing defensively, anyways. So
When they're causing turnovers, right?
causing
Which is
turnovers,
being
mayhem,
opportunistic.
sacks, negative plays. And unlike other teams with some good defenses and opportunistic and negative play driven teams, this team has a quarterback that can put up 40 points when he wants to. And again, Drake May didn't play his best game by any means, but they were able to run the ball when they wanted to. Dude, Tez Walker's first game back, dude, he drops 3 touchdowns. That's crazy.
First real game back.
Well, that's
last week, it was on a short week. Yeah, he found out 48 hours before they were playing.
Yeah, come on. I'm counting this one as his first week. Jeez, dude. Jeez. And you and I, when we were drafting wide receivers to take in the ACC, right? I had first pick. I took Jamari Thrash, which I'm thrilled about, by the way. And that was not a sleeper. I think a lot of people knew his name, but it was a dart for sure at the dartboard. That hit. You took Tez Walker, and unfortunately, he just was ineligible for whatever reason. We don't need to get into that. How good does it feel to be right?
Fantastic. I whiffed on the other Kent State wide receiver. going to Penn State, but this is nice. It's great to see him. It's great to see great college football players be allowed to play, right? I mean, and that's what it is with Des Walker now. This North Carolina team, I've been really impressed with. Really, really impressed with, especially the past couple weeks. I think they're playing great football. Obviously, you were favorites at home against Miami. You were supposed to win this game, but it was good to see you to do it, right? And to be pretty not dominant, but to come out of halftime and to put up 21 points like that in the third quarter. Super, super impressive. Excuse me. As from it goes from here, you've got a pretty darn good schedule, especially if Riley Leonard's not healthy by the time you play him. Right at Clemson. Man, I think you're muted there, but that's all right. I'll keep talking. Um, I will
I
say
was saying that Louisville lost and Louisville lost.
exactly. So you're looking at the path to the ACC championship game. Looks a lot nicer, and I'll even throw college football playoffs there because you get 60 minutes to beat Florida State. It's not like North Carolina's coming out of the Big Ten West where you're Iowa and you're going to get boat raced. Right? UNC, Florida State, there's not a huge gap there. And when you have the better quarterback and Drake May and darn good players, playmakers all over the field, both sides of the ball, you have a chance to win that game. And now I don't want to compare them to this team because it's definitely unfair and they're obviously different teams. But we talked about earlier with the defense playing well and doing enough. I think back to 2019 in LSU, and obviously it's a different team. We looked at that roster, right? Offensively, elite quarterback, great running back, great college running back, right? Elite wide receiver, playmakers all over the field. O-line's doing enough for you, right? And I kind of see that offensively, and then a very opportunistic defense. Now, obviously, the LSU defense probably had more LSU NFL talent than this North Carolina team does, but it's doing enough to win games pretty comfortably. And obviously, it'll get tested. Probably not until a healthy Riley Leonard, and then really get tested against Keon Coleman and Florida State there in the ACC championship. I'm jumping ahead here, but this was huge. This was really nice to see Mac Brown put it together. 4 quarters against we think still a quality opponent in Miami. Yeah, they lost to Georgia Tech last week. Whatever. We picked North Carolina wins game because we think North Carolina's a good football team. Miami is still a good football team. And it was really impressive what North Carolina did. You mentioned Omar Hampton, man. That guy runs hard. He runs hard.
Yeah, and look, I still like Miami as a team, dude. Just because they lost this game and last week, like, it's not mean that this is not can't be a successful season. Last year, they are not even competitive in this game. This year, they're up 3.5, right? And in the fourth quarter, they made it a 10-point game. So, I'm sure Miami fans are upset about this. I thought Tyler Van Dyke played fine. For the most part, Xavier Restrepo once again an absolute stud. I think it was Henry Parrish's turn this week to tilt the rock, even though they didn't really run the ball all that effectively. Overall, I think these are two good teams. I think Miami is good. Well, let's not pretend that they're not. These are two good teams. This is a good game. This is a good game. UCLA at Oregon State. Corvallis is a tough barn to play in. And guess what? DJU. Unbelievable performance this guy had. Unbelievable. And you look back on it and you're like, wow, was Tony Elliott that much of a bum? Was he that much of a bum? Because DJU, I mean, he had that mishap against Washington State, which, by the way, he didn't play great. Threw a pick in a big moment. Sure. Washington State just played a fantastic game that game. It's on the road. This is against UCLA. You could argue is one of the best defenses in the Pac-12, right? And they've been playing like that, especially because Utah's so injured. Their entire roster is just decimated by injury. But man, credit DJ. Credit that running back room. Credit Martinez. Credit Fenwick for both getting it done on the ground when they needed to. And yeah, I mean, Dante Moore, again, looked like a freshman. But that's
on the
okay.
road. On the road.
On the road. That's okay. I'm sure as a UCLA fan, you're not happy to hear me say, oh, it's okay that 5-star freshman. He's a freshman. Come on. Like, let's chill out.
Silver lining for UCLA, right? Your hardest games that you have to play on the road, you've already played. and you lost both of them, and your quarterback looked like a freshman in doing so. But the rest of the way, your road games are at Arizona, and with all due respect to them, it's not quite Corvallis or Utah, right? And then at USC, which we know how kind of and that environment really is. And Carson Steele's a stud, I think. So we'll see what they do from here. Sorry, I can go back.
Yeah. Again, two good teams. I took the over on both these guys, 8.5. That's the number to beat. I think both of these teams can still hit that. So that's my UCLA schedule from this point, I believe, is a little bit not as tough as Oregon State's schedule. So in terms of that dynamic there, I guess I was happy that Oregon State won. We also picked them. I think we both picked them. Good game from the Bees, man. I know they played that one game against Washington State, but everyone's talking about Oregon and Washington. Just wait until what does Washington have to go to Corvallis?
Yes, Washington does. Oregon gets Oregon State at home.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tougher game, but just watch out, man. Watch out. Washington fans, watch out for these Bees, man. Especially on the road.
Yeah, this game didn't get quite the national tread that it definitely got overshadowed by the other, obviously
Which is
high profile
wild.
game on the
Which is
Pac-12. But these
wild.
are two top 20 teams, right? Like really good football teams. And DJU and Oregon State played really good football. Really good football. They jumped on them. Obviously, the 2 interceptions early by Dante Moore, threw another one later, were tough. And that obviously helped Oregon State. But yeah, I mean, this is a good Oregon State football team. This really is. And it's good to see them, play up to their capabilities and not lose a game in which they had a chance to win. And which we've seen teams do all along in this offseason. Their schedule's not bad at all. Obviously, at the end is tough. The next 3 weeks, 4 weeks with the bye are pretty manageable, right? And obviously manageable Arizona. That's a good football team. We talked about Arizona's good football team. At Colorado, who knows? But then I'm gonna be circling both those games, especially if they upset Washington. I think that Oregon State game has potential to be a massive game there in Eugene, Oregon. There, Oregon State's probably gonna be a top 10 team by the time they play, or by the time they play Washington and others. So yeah, it's awesome. We're super excited about Jonathan Smith and Oregon State, and even UCLA too. They'll do well down the stretch. But yeah, Pac-12, man, buckle up. It's gonna get intense.
Iowa State at Cincinnati. Yes, we did preview this game leading into this week. Yes, we did. You know why? Because we wanted to. That's exactly why. Emory Jones. Oh man, he had such a good first 2 weeks, man. Goodness gracious.
I
Baracco
thought he
backed.
started. I thought he started well too. The bad interception. That's not good. But I thought I mean, I thought they were gonna get it going. They just did not. I picked Cincinnati to win this game, by the way, and I was very wrong. Iowa State came out, played really good football for 4 quarters. Like you said, Rocco Beck's continuing to play well. They found a guy there, right?
I think their defense is starting to click a little bit. I think early on it kind of struggled a little bit. Now anyone can look good against Iowa, right? Defensively, but Oklahoma State they struggled. I did. Obviously, their defense played well against Ohio, right? But it was really the offense that you were kind of waiting for, and it's just like Rocco Beck is just finding ways, dude. Like he's playing really good football. And to say that Iowa State is a top half Big 12 team. They're a top half Big 12 team right now. They're playing that way. So they keep playing that at that level. I mean, they could find themselves in a bowl game. It's not an easy schedule the rest of the way, but they could legitimately find themselves in a bowl game. And after a start where you lose to Iowa and Ohio, and you go 2-2 into conference play, pretty crazy. And you lose by like 30 to Oklahoma. It's like, oh boy, what is this team gonna do? They bounced back. I picked them to cover, picked them to win. Obviously, I don't regret it. Rocco backed, man. Rocco backed. I was on the JJ Cole train. JJ
Me too.
Roscoe Peak Ho train. I was on that train. at the beginning of the season. I know you were as well. But Rocco Beck, man, he's playing at a good level, doing what he needs to do.
He really is. As for Cincinnati, you look ahead, and all of a sudden that schedule does not look as easy as it did maybe a week or two ago, right? With Houston getting a nice win, West Virginia still playing well, Oklahoma State's found themselves, and even Kansas at the end of the year. Hopefully, a healthy Jalen Daniels there. But yeah, this is game. The reason why I picked them is because I circled it as a game for Cincinnati to come out of the bye and play great football and win, and they just did not. They couldn't run the football outside of a couple runs from Emory Jones. And if you have a quarterback as limited as Emory Jones, right, you need to be able to run the football to help him out. And they couldn't, and it showed. And you scored 10 points, you throw for under 100 yards. The one bright spot is I think your tight end, Medier, is a good player. He's a real good football player. He had a touchdown for you again. And obviously your defensive line is pretty good too, but I'm rooting for you, Cincinnati. I really am, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough here in year one in the Big 12.
Yeah, they're not running the ball effectively like they were weeks 1 and 2 either. Like that, we haven't seen it since.
No.
So they need to figure it out. Because I remember explicitly saying after their second win, I explicitly said, wow, I mean, look, credit to you guys. And I think in the preview, I said credit to you guys who were on the over 4.5 when it came out, right? And got it moved to 5.5. I think even like getting to 5 wins is going to be tough. I think if they make a bowl game at this point, that'd be an absolute Scott Satterfield masterclass. I think is what that would be. That would be an impressive coaching job for sure.
You're gonna have to win a couple games, at least one game on the road in conference play, which is tough, which is always tough. But we'll see how it goes for them down the stretch.
But hey, let's go Cyclones.
Oh, we've been rooting hard for them. They have a chance to make it really fun. Really fun in the Big 12.
They really do. I love it. Wyoming at Air Force. What a game, by the way. What we out here covering G5 teams, and every single week we do. It's a great game. We get at least one game. The other G5 game we covered, we'll get to that. And maybe it wasn't so great. But Air Force, 10.5 point spreads. We both took Air Force to win and cover. Was not the case. In fact, Air Force had to come back and win that game.
They went down 14-0. If you're a team that runs triple option and runs ball as much as Air Force does, that can be crippling. Credit to Air Force, man. Credit to Air Force to sticking to their identity and working their way back slowly but surely. Outscored them 17-6 in that second half. Sorry, you can continue there.
Well, just like there was so much to like about like what they did. I mean, just and late you fumble the ball inside your own 25, and Wyoming scores to get ahead. And what do? Chin up, right? Obviously, Eldridge, big touchdown run there at the end that kind of bailed them out. But at the same time, this Air Force team, with their talent pool, NIL, transfer portal stuff, like their resources, the fact that they were 6-0, and like this Wyoming team is a good team. We talked about it. They're a good football team. This is a wildly impressive run by Air Force. And guess what? They have a chance where they could be 11-1, 12-0 by the end of the season, just at the level of football they're playing right now and their schedule.
I do want to say real quick, that touchdown, that blocked PAT, man. This is why we love Air Force, man. That blocked PAT was huge. 6 minutes ago, they tie it with touchdown and the PAT to take the lead, and you get a block there. And obviously you fumble the next possession, whatever. They missed a field goal, you get bailed out there a little bit. But that play was huge there. That play was huge. And then obviously the misconception about the triple option is that people think it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Well, yes, it is in some sense in terms of, right, if Air Force had their way, they would just feed the fullback dive every play and get 4.5 yards, which they did, by the way. 22 carries, 4.5 yards for a fullback. Again, that'll get it done. That's why they scored 34 points, right? But the big plays that come off of that, where one guy misses assignment, misses a tackle, and the guy's off and running. We saw that at the end of the fourth quarter, right? With 2 minutes to go, 50-yard touchdown. Boom. There it is for Air Force. That was huge. It's really exciting. I love it for Air Force, man. I think they get a couple weeks to catch their breath. They get an out of conference game in Navy, which obviously rivalry game, not gonna be easy. Army a couple weeks later, not gonna be easy. But the Mountain West schedule on the back half of them is very manageable. Very manageable. And we'll see what they can do with that.
Yeah. If you were to give me a chance to give midseason awards, right, and like coach of the year, right, I think I have three candidates. I have four candidates. All right. One, Kirby Smart, doing what he's doing, winning ball games with his injured, as decimated as their roster is, even though they have a lot of talent, right? They're decimated right now, and they're winning football games and doing a good job of it. Definitely killing the boar, obviously, right? But then Troy Calhoun and Kurt Signetti are on this list. Troy Calhoun, what he's doing with Air Force this year is unbelievable. And last year, they were a good team last year, by the way. Goodness gracious. I love this Air Force team. Give me the Falcons. Give me the Falcons. Come on. I know they didn't cover for us, but doesn't matter. Finding a way to Wyoming, by the way, has had Air Force's number for a number of years. They just do. They just find ways to win ball games there. Gosh, I just love this Air Force team. I just love this Air Force team. And we'll get to James Madison in a second. Why I took Kurt Signetti also as a head coach, but Troy Calhoun, man, Troy Calhoun. That's all I gotta say.
I do think it was tough to see Harrison Wiley, right? The Wyoming running back was out for that game. Obviously, you had to bring it up. Who knows what would have happened if he played? But that was tough. That was tough. They'll be happy to get him back hopefully next week or for the next game there. But do not take any credit away from Air Force. It's a big time win. They needed this win. They knew it in terms of the outlook of the Mountain West, and they got it. And now they're sitting pretty.
Georgia Southern at James Madison. I was so confident in Georgia Southern going into this game. In fact, it was on Dawson's Diner +6. The over 58.5 was on the table because I thought Georgia Southern's offense would cook. And if you look at the yardage, they moved the football consistently. But Davis Brand had some interceptions, including a pick six. Man, it was tough. It was tough for Georgia Southern for sure. But this is not to discredit James Madison. Dude, their defense. And by the way, we had said that their secondary had gotten exposed earlier this year. Georgia Southern's receivers are very good. We talked about Burgess. We talked about Caleb Hood, who did get his, right? Caleb's good. He got his, right? But dude, they did a good job limiting them. And really now Georgia Southern is one dimensional, right? But they just say, hey, try to stop it. Jamie did. James Madison, dude. James McLeod had a very, very good game. And they did what they needed to do, and they capitalized on opportunities. You know what good teams do? When lesser teams make mistakes, they capitalize, right? That's exactly what James Madison did this game at a very, very high level. They are the current favorite to win the Sun Belt, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I was super impressed with them. Super impressed. Obviously, like you, I took Georgia Southern. Was expecting to see more output from Davis Brennan in that offense. But James Madison's got good defense. The Dukes were flying around. They came out hot. They didn't punt in the first half. They put up 20 points, right? 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. And then, Georgia Southern got a field goal at the end of half, and they got the bottom half, and you were thinking, okay, maybe they can make this a game. Make some halftime adjustments. Nope. 3 straight touchdowns for James Madison in that third quarter, and that game was over, right? As soon as that, they went up 41-6. And that's real good stuff. Real good stuff there from the Sun Belt and James Madison.
Does Signetti get looks at the Power 5 level soon?
Can they even? They can't even win They can't even go to a bowl game, right? James Madison. That's how recent they are in the FBS, and what he's done there. It's just been.
But
nothing short of impressive.
All I'm saying is like Michigan State, for example, right? Like schools like Kansas State, right? They took guys from the FCS, right? Now JMU's not FCS, but they were, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Kansas,
and can't Kansas, right? With Lance Leipold, he has D3 experience. Kalen DeBoer has
Kalen
D3
DeBoer.
experience. Like those are guys that know how to build a program, right? If I'm Michigan State, I'm at least giving Signetti a like. I'm giving him a look. I'm giving him a look. Maybe an
He
interview.
should be on the top of some boards. And obviously, as a college football fan and as a Sun Belt fan, I hope he stays. Right. I hope he does. We've seen schools try to pony up in the G5 and try to keep some of their coaches. We thought South Alabama and maybe Troy were going to lose their coaches, and they didn't, which is great for the Sun Belt. And both those teams are playing good football. But yeah, this was awesome. Now Georgia Southern, I look for them. They're still a good football team, right? They got to figure it out. They played a really good football team on the road, and they lost. Right? They got to figure out Louisiana Monroe, right? The ship, Georgia State, Texas State, who's playing good football, at App State to close the year. I mean, the Sun Belt. Let me word this right. The Sun Belt is a good conference, right? There are a lot of quality teams in it, and I'd love to see James Madison get that auto bid, for that New Year's Six bowl game, or whoever it is that comes out of the Sun Belt,
But
and
they
really put up
can't.
a fight.
They can't play in a
Oh
bowl game,
wow, I didn't. Yeah, I
which
literally
is
just said
the
that.
which is the dumbest thing ever. Which is the
We talked about
dumbest.
NCAA. We cannot stand the NCAA on the show, and for numerous reasons that I don't think need to be explained. That is, what does that even mean? What's the
Well, here's the thing though. I think like I'm gonna. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm gonna defend the NCAA on this one. I think this
good
rule
luck?
actually. I think like specifically this rule was brought on by like conferences. If they wanted to take away this rule, they could. They could go to the NCAA and conference, and they could take this rule away from what I've heard. But the reality is, the NCAA just enforces it. This specific rule, they just enforce, right? There's a lot of other
Well,
rules that the NCAA and the conferences have say or whatever, but this is something like if all the conferences came together and said, yeah, we want this to happen, then they would let it happen, I think.
and the problem is the only conferences this affects are your group of five conferences, because who else is taking FCS schools, right?
No one, no one.
It's not the Power Five. The Big Ten's not going to pluck Illinois State from the FCS and Bloomington there. They're not going to do that. So like, let them have their fun, man. Let them have their fun. And obviously JMU,
Well, yeah,
right?
it
Jacksonville
sucks too.
State, other schools like that.
There's no incentive for the Power Five to vote for that rule either to change
Because
because
it hurts their
it,
bids for bowl games, and that's their money that they're losing.
yeah, so stupid, man. Bureaucracy. Yeah,
We're a
but
Sun Belt. We're a Sun Belt show here. We love the Sun Belt.
yeah, but without getting political any further, I think these are two of the three best teams in the Sun Belt, in my opinion. I think JMU is right there. I think Troy's right there. We've seen they're playing really high level football right now. Roy's got them moving. And then I think Georgia Southern's right there at 3. I think you could throw Texas State in there. You could throw.
How about Arkansas State with Jalen Rayner? Not in that tier, but
I
another
don't
another
know.
sneaky team.
That's
South
a sneaky
Alabama's
team.
not a bad football team. Coastal Carolina, App State, you can never count out, right? I mean,
Yeah, Colin
the Sun.
Lacey, by the way, for South Alabama, he's at 100 yards in every single game he's played this year. He is lights out. Carter Bradley is feeding that kid the football. So Colin Lacey, that's a name you guys should be watching out for if you guys are watching South Alabama football for whatever reason. But yeah, all right. We're done talking about these guys. Love the Sun Belt though. Let's go. Let's go Sun Belt. Come on.
We won't be done with them. We'll get back to them eventually as well.
Yeah, little upset meter. How did we do? Uh, good and bad. Maryland, oh, at home for homecoming against an Illinois team that didn't have Keith Richards or Josh McCray. You absolutely dud that one. That is brutal. Florida State, we were all over. They pounded Syracuse. LSU, we put it mild. They pounded Auburn. You thought that was going to be a closer game. And again, just at home.
Somehow it wasn't, though. Somehow it wasn't. I mean,
Utah, like that line was at 13.5 when I think we did this upset meter. It dropped to 9.5 on game day. I
It's
don't
because
think like,
The Cam Rising fact.
but you gotta know at this point that I don't think he's gonna be healthy like the rest of the year. But guess what? It didn't matter. Their defense, they're just so well coached, man. They're just so well coached, dude. You know what I would do at A&M to have a coach like Kyle Whittingham? You know what I would give up? You don't even want to know.
He is what Kirk Ferentz tries to be.
Yes.
I'll say that. He's what
Yes.
Kirk Ferentz tries to be. And while Kirk Ferentz has had a ton of success, he's played in the fucking Big Ten West. Kyle Whittingham is a dog, right? Cal has been playing great football, right?
They
And
got the freshman
Mendoza came
quarterback,
in.
Mendoza, the slinger.
I think Ben Finley came in for him though, because they obviously, I think, did he get hurt or he got benched or something happened? But Sion Vakai, right? With
A
all due respect to
safety
him,
playing both ways. Are
15
you
carries,
serious?
158 yards. This is awesome. This is incredible
You know what that
stuff.
also is too? That's coaching staff evaluating their locker room, knowing what they have. Their running back room is decimated right now. Sure, they have Jaquin Jackson. He's been banged up all year.
Yeah,
And for
and
them to
he
just
still had 22
pluck,
carries.
and then for them to just pluck their safety and say, "Hey, go! This is an important conference game. Go! Tote the ball. Go tote the rock." What?
Dude, and Cal
Having
went up 7-0 on this game too.
yeah. This is a as much as like your average box score browser's gonna look at this game and be like, oh, okay, yeah, of course Utah won, whatever. Dude, this was an impressive win for them, I thought. Uh, just
Can
the
I
way
say
that
this
they did
too?
it.
Well, you talk about the way that they win football games. California had 3 turnovers, right? An interception, a fumble, and I'll count, I'll count a missed field goal as a turnover. Utah had 21 points off of those drives. That's how you win. That's the difference in the football game, right? 20 points. That's what they do so well. And just it's a shame that Cam Rising is not going to be healthy, probably because
Yeah, I don't
in
think
a
he's gonna be
Pac-12
back
year
the
that's
rest of
just
the season.
loaded, they could do some damage to some of these teams at the top, and they could be right up there with them at the top. And yet we're just getting their C+ game on offense, and they're still winning football games.
Yeah, it's absurd. I'm gonna take a second to pull up their injury report, like in general, because it's not just Cam Rising that's hurt though. Like this is a roster that is just decimated, and this is a coaching staff that is putting it all together. They are just glue, baby. They are just glue. But while I'm pulling this up, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about the Maryland game? I didn't really watch a whole lot of it because I didn't really
I,
care about it a whole
I
lot.
all of a sudden I checked, and it was a close game in the fourth quarter, and I couldn't get to a screen. Very disappointed about that. But it wasn't even Talia. Talia didn't have turnover, right? Like that's normally what happens. The way to them lose football games is just like maybe it clicked for Illinois, and maybe they played a complete football game. They actually showed up for 4 quarters, and they didn't just get blown out in one half and call it a day there. They got their first conference win, and it's October, 15th, 14th when they won it. And that was not the game I thought they were going to win. We felt great about Maryland. Oh, the Big Ten, man, the Big Ten. Who
Big
knows?
Ten, Big Ten West, risky teams, not.
Come on.
But I guess in this game they were. So yeah, there were some other episodes though that I think we missed. We missed on the was the Arizona, was that a 10-point spread? No, I don't think it was.
No, because we would have talked about it, I think.
Yeah,
Kansas, Oklahoma State. That was not a 10-point spread, but no
no,
Jalen Daniels on the road. It's tough. It's gonna
yeah.
happen.
Also, to preface this, your first time tuning into the upset meter, like the rule is like it has to be a 10-point spread. Right, we're not putting, an upset. We're not putting A&M +4 against Tennessee on this upset meter, right? Because obviously it's piping hot, right? So we try to make this as interesting as possible. So, but overall, that for what we were working with 10-point spreads, I think we did a pretty decent job. I mean, we
I
put
guess I
Maryland
guess
on the list.
Iowa.
I think we put Maryland on the list.
Yeah.
We just had it. We just had it mild. So pretty great. Great for Illinois. That's a good win. That's a team that, I mean, if they figure it out, I guess like their schedule isn't very daunting, so they could make some noise. that'll be it for us on Redshirt Sophomore. Thank you guys for tuning in to our Week 7 recap. The sport's been awesome for you guys. We're almost at 100 subs. That's crazy. I would not have even dreamed that we'd have that by this time. I mean, we started this in June. That's crazy. So if you guys do us a favor, if you're watching us up until this point, please give us a subscription. It would mean a lot to us. Like on the video as well. But yeah, you got anything else to say?
No, looking forward to week 8. We'll be here to talk about it. Sorry we're a day late. Stuff happens. We're 2 college students working jobs too. I mean, it's a tough time, but we love college football. That's why we're doing this. Thank you guys for the support, and we'll continue giving you our best stuff.
Yep. And we will see you guys in the next one.